Yo, 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 what is going on, RoK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today wanted to circle back to a previous video we did as I had got some questions that I actually thought was something that applied to a lot of people, where if you end up getting into a kingdom where you feel that there just really isn't an out, or you just don't like the way that things are going, what do you do? What options do you have to potentially influence the way that a kingdom's direction is going from the beginning? And what can you do throughout before it potentially culminates on you needing to make a decision for what is in your best interests? So that's what we're going to talk about today, along with a little bit of why this happens, pretty much why it's kind of almost passively bound to happen in every kingdom if they end up staying the course in certain situations. So as always, again, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. And of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. So again, the topic here is, right, how do you avoid situations? For example, one of the videos I covered that I got some questions about was, like when you have a bunch of players that are joining and forming mega alliances, where you have top players or top spenders that are all kind of going to the same alliance, right? How do you potentially avoid those those cons, if you will, right? Those after effects that, whether they happen immediately or over a period of time, how can you as a player, right, still enjoy your time in any kingdom you're in? And then if these things start to affect you, right, what can you do? So I will say this, there's really only a few options. The number one thing I will say is be involved in your kingdom, right? Be involved on the kingdom Discord. Pay attention to announcements that come out. If not, honestly, take the initiative to set one up. If you're in a kingdom and you guys don't even have a kingdom Discord, take some initiative, right? Go on and watch some YouTube tutorial videos. That's what I did. And then, start making your own test servers, test things out, click, read, try. I mean, it's really that easy. If you're not good at anything initially, you can be over time. You just have to put some effort and some willingness into it. And so, and I'll take you back to a scenario, right? I've had this happen when I started playing RoK, where once I started figuring things out on how kingdoms truly develop, for the most part, if you're the average active player, you may not necessarily be as affected by these things initially. You might not even notice them the first few times. It might take a couple times for you to really start to get it. Because in order to really care about what's happening in the kingdom, you have to really understand what is happening in the game, as far as, why are we only getting one pass? Why are we only getting one holy site? Why are we only getting two sanctums and one altar? Why don't we rotate in Lost Temple? Why does our alliance not compete in KVK? Why are we not on the front line? These are questions you have to ask yourself to eventually get to a point where then you'll start asking the right questions, right? Not to yourself, but outwardly to others. And because, again, if you're just logging in to do your dailies and to play and to participate, and you don't care how many rewards you get, to you it's, oh, wow, cool, I logged in one day and it looks like we took this or we took that, or, oh, wow, there was an opportunity for me to go and help out with a pass, or there was an opportunity for me to go and help out with doing a bunch of forts one day. Or we're in KVK and, maybe we're able to go and get a pass there or get a structure there, right? You might not necessarily think about it in the type of grand scheme, because it may just be passively happening to you. And that's really where the struggle is that the majority of players in almost every kingdom are just kind of passively playing, right? They're not really engaged in what is actually happening in the kingdom, right? Because the majority of players, in my opinion, just do not have a kind of a full comprehensive understanding of everything that you can do in a kingdom. Like, sure, they understand that, hey, here's a structure. These are sanctums, these are altars, these are holy sites, here's Lost Temple. But when it comes to the average member being let's just call it engaged in the kingdom's politics, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a bad thing. It's just what I define that as is you are invested in understanding your alliance's role in the kingdom, and then how your role can impact your alliance's role in the kingdom, right? And also how your role can impact the kingdom as a whole, not just your alliance. And to have that understanding, you have to pay attention and see what's going on in the kingdom, right? Do you have equal territory to others, right? Let's say you're a rank 5 alliance, but you don't have as much territory and maybe as much influence as the top 4, right? That might be something to kind of ask questions about. Maybe you don't notice it right away because the thing is, if you're not in another alliance, you may not notice that other alliances are getting more rewards or less rewards than you are, right? It's like you don't know what you don't know, right? Because you're essentially kind of isolated from other alliances. So again, it goes back to what I was saying before, right? Take time to learn and to understand everything that you can do, right? Even when it comes to, events, right? When you're kind of doing AVA events in the kingdom, and as far as where you're placing, or, again, if you notice those things, and that's actually a good note, right? If you have AVA events that are happening, take note of which alliances are constantly placing high, and then compare those alliances to yours, right? Do you have the same amount of players? Are you close in power? How's your activity, maybe arguably versus their activity, right? So you can kind of stack up and see, like, do they have similar access to you on the map, right? Do they have similar territory? Do they have maybe more structures than you or less structures than you on the map? Right? Are they kind of in a similar position to you in KVK when you guys go there? These are questions to ask to be able to compare and say to yourself, well, my alliance, you might be in a situation where your alliance is in a similar position to another, but maybe the other alliance is just doing more. Okay, well, maybe it just comes down to that alliance just has more overall general engagement. Okay, well, maybe you then look at internally and you're like, okay, well, hey, are we sending mails efficiently? Are we socially engaging with the members in our alliance to try and boost morale and boost interaction for events when they're coming up, right? So these are just good questions to ask. So you, again, can have like I said, again, I'll go back to it, not to beat the dead horse, but really so you can have a good understanding of how a kingdom's flow operates, and also how, like I said, your alliance's role in that kingdom and your individual role within that alliance and then for the kingdom plays into effect as well. And the thing is that, again, I love making this type of content, but I also understand that this type of content is something that I truly believe it's important. I believe it's important for everyone to know these things, for people to have a good understanding, but the majority of people don't, right? You look at this content compared to other types of content, and even though having a good knowledge base for this can help you be better prepared for when those things happen, because then you'll know what's happening. And I'll give you a great example. I'll often have people ask me, boss, why can't I go over an MGE cap limit, right? Or why can't I win? Why can't I go out and go hard at an MGE, right? As someone who's not a heavy spender, right? Max, shh. My dog, Lord. And so he ran away before I could kiss him. And so anyways, right, I just think these are good questions to ask. And, oftentimes it can even come down to communication. How well does an alliance or a kingdom communicate with the players? And that's important to have even a better understanding of, right? If you are seeing that or you're not seeing that. These are questions to ask. Now, when it comes to what you can actually do, well, you really only have a few options, right? I think participating and asking these questions and being engaged in those dialogues is great. And showing the kingdom that you're there, you're giving feedback, you're giving support. Same thing for your alliance. And like I said, asking the right questions. But if it comes down to where you still don't feel like you're getting anywhere and you're noticing things that you just may not like, well, remember, you always have the option to either leave that alliance and go join another one if you're able to, or ask. And then worst case, you can always migrate out. And when it comes to that, right, you always want to make sure that you're really doing your due diligence, because if you do want to leave and you want to go somewhere that you feel you're going to be, whether it's more appreciated or more involved or maybe just have better communication, etc., whatever it may be, right? Take time. And I'll probably end up making a video on exactly how you should go about searching for other kingdoms if you do look to migrate. But again, some people might just think I'm rambling, so to speak, at this point, and I guess maybe for portions I am, but I do think the pockets throughout of what I'm saying still hopefully hits at that same endpoint, which is that there's a lot that goes into kingdoms that the average player just doesn't notice, and I hope, if anything, this video shed a little bit of light on it. For those that can kind of, maybe at times read between the lines, and others who are like, you know what, I completely understand what he's saying. So, but with that being said, again, that's it for me. I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments, right? Did anything I say connect? Are you in a kingdom where situations like that are happening? And if so, what is happening, right? I would love to hear in the comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later.